There we go. Getting ready to go live.
Awesome.
Good morning, everyone at the University of Houston. My name is Victoria Lara, and this is Millennial Talk Live. As you know, for the month of March, we are witnessing a lot of women come through the show because March, as you all know, is Women's History Month, and we are so excited this morning to have our council member from the city of Houston, Amanda Edwards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victoria. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm really proud of the work you're doing, trying to keep people informed and engaged, and utilizing the University of Houston to do that is awesome. So I'm excited to be here, and of course have great things to talk about. So.
Thank you so much for coming in. I know you guys have so many things that you could do, but it's important and it's definitely for us at the University of Houston to be able to engage with our elected officials. I think is huge. It's something that I'm always trying to promote because, as you know, politics surrounds our world, our life, regardless of whether or not you want to be an elected official yourself. So I think it's very, very important for us to note that, you know, if we're not involved, if we don't know who represents us, if we don't know the issues and things going on in our community, how it could directly affect us. And so with that, I mean, I know you're very, very young. I'm not going to ask you how old you are.
My gray hair may tell you a different story, so.
No, I know you look very, very young. And so I know you haven't been in office for that long. So tell us about your position in the city and all of that.
Oh, absolutely. And again, thanks for having me here. So a little bit about me. I am a native Houstonian, born and raised, and happen to be here in Houston practicing law and serving on a lot of nonprofit boards. And I decided that I would run for office really to impact change and to really help to transform the city so it can realize its potential in a variety of ways. So community-based development, seeing our under-resourced areas thrive is important to me. Transit is important to me. It's really helping our economy evolve is important to me. And so I'm now getting a chance to work on that as an at-large city council member. And so what that means is on our city council, we have 16 members, 11 of which actually serve in districts. So they have jurisdictions that they cover. And then 5 of us serve at large. So that means we cover the entire city of Houston. So you have 5 people who cover the whole city and 11 that serve districts. And it's been great. I serve as the vice chair of the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee because my background is in municipal finance law. And I also serve on the Transportation Technology Infrastructure Committee, Economic Development Committee, and I started the Mayor's Task Force for Technology and Innovation so that we could grow that piece of our economy here in Houston. So I'm having a blast.
Awesome. So you've been in there for a while now, but did you always see yourself as an elected official?
It's an interesting question. I think I've always been interested in public service. Going back to me interning at the state legislative level when I was in Georgia to, a variety of things that I did. I worked on Capitol Hill and did those kinds of things. But I think there is a huge difference between being interested in public service and making the leap into it. Because if you're anything like me, I actually don't even like politics. So I know that is a very weird thing for somebody who's in politics to tell you, but I really don't. But what I do is I absolutely love public service. So really serving the public, it is what makes my heart full. It is how I feel fulfilled in terms of seeing those outcomes and seeing the impact being made on the neighborhood and person by person basis. I love that. And so that means for me, I just have to, eat my vegetables and, politics is a little bit of a necessary evil. Of course, you got to get through the politics in order to be effective. And so I do get through my politics, but my goal or my end is really the service. And that's what I absolutely love about being in this role. On a local level, you really have an opportunity to impact a lot of people, and I think people don't really realize that.
Absolutely.
I think they think, presidency or the Senate or Congress,
yeah.
And those are the only ways that you can impact change. And quite frankly, most people have no idea how much change is really being influenced on the local level, or how much change could be influenced on a local level if the right people are in office.
That's true. I think that's one of the biggest things is I'm always pushing for young professionals to get involved in one way or another because, like you said, it just affects directly impacts our daily life. And I know I always try to make every session that I can and get informed and listen. And I know they also stream it online. So really nowadays there's no excuse for anyone not to get involved, not to know what the issues are in our community. But I mean, it just feels so proud. I'm so proud of you because living in Houston and being in Houston, and I know there's a lot of people, once they get their education, they have the option to travel out to do something else with their career, but you choose to stay. And I think that's very important because when our elected officials reflect the community, I think that's something that's very, very important. And so I think more than anything, especially being a woman, being a young woman, getting involved at a young age. What high school did you go to?
So I went to Eisenhower High School. So I was in the Aldine Public School District, and even it's just one of those things that you gotta also, when you do have that success, you have to be willing to go back. So I think I'm scheduled later this month to go back to my high school and talk to the students there and let them know I was a student sitting at one of those very same desks, just like you are, but saying, listen guys, your opportunities, your future is only limited by your own imagination and willingness to work. And so if you work at it and you persevere and you have a big imagination, you can really achieve a lot. And so really being that walking testament of that is important. The other thing that was important for me, I went to school outside of Houston. So after I graduated from high school, I went to Emory, which is in Atlanta, and then I went to Harvard for law school. Law school. So I was gone for a while, and a lot of my friends from school, of course, they got jobs on the East Coast, and so, what are you doing going back to Texas? And they'd ask me that question, and I really feel passionate about really helping the city of Houston really become the city that it's destined to be. And I think that when you have people who are passionate and care, but then also have the skills to get the job done, because you can't just have passion, you got to have the skills to get the job done and be effective. I think that's when you have a really strong winning combination, particularly if you're in tune with what's going on in the community. That's
incredible. I think especially, your college years, and coming back and getting involved and getting elected. And it's really, really difficult. And I know that's another thing that I'm always trying to get young professionals, if you feel like you can do something about it, run. What are some of the things and challenges that you had to face, when you were like, okay, I'm really going to do this?
The number one issue you face, at least at the onset, I don't know anybody who hasn't had this issue. It's just been your own fear. You're scared of everything. You're like, what's they're gonna say? What bad things people will say about you? What job? What are you gonna say to your job? What are you gonna say to everybody? All of these things. You have these horrors. You have to do fundraising. How do you ask people
for money?
Yeah, it's like all these fears. So at the end of the day, the only way to get through your fears is when you face them and then surpass them. And so now some of those worries that I had seem so like light years ago to me because I've long since gotten through actually facing them. But you're never going to be able to pass up, to conquer your fear if you're not willing to confront it. And then you realize, that wasn't quite so bad. And
I can do this.
And I was like, this is what I've been so afraid of. And granted, it is hard work running for office. Let me be very, very clear about this. It is one of the hardest things I've had to do to date. And I work hard. So for me to say that is true. Because it's taxing on you in terms of family and friends. It's taxing on you emotionally. It's taxing on you physically. And if you're having other things that you're doing, like working, that's very challenging. So it is not something to take lightly. I don't say that to scare anyone. I say that so that people know what they're walking into and are mentally prepared and have managed their expectations accordingly. So if you think you're going to have the same balance of life as you had before, that is not the case.
So how old were you when you decided to run? That's a good question. I won't ask you
when I started running, I'll just tell you how old I am. I'm 36 now. When I started running, I think, what year was that? I was probably 33. I guess 33, but I kind of decided when I was 32. And so it's a process, right? So you're like, okay, well, this is going to be, I think I decided when I was 33, and it's a process. So then you say, okay, I'm going to run. Well, I don't know anything about running, so let me find out how to do this, and so you have to figure it out. Who do I talk to? Who do you hire? Who do you do? You don't know those things intuitively. So then you're like, okay, what about your workplace? When do you have a conversation with your workplace as to whether that's feasible? Would they support you being at your job while you're trying to do something like that? Or would they ask you to leave? Like everybody has a different situation. And so you have to work out your business of how you're going to actually make this happen from a logistics standpoint. And then you've got to figure out what's your strategy to win. I don't believe in running just to run. I believe in running because I want to serve. And so if I'm going
to want to win.
That's right. We got to win.
We're not here to gain popularity. We want to win.
I know, that's right. And listen, I said it's too much work just to be in there, just to shake some hands. We got to get in there and get this done. But then while you're out there, there's a lot of adrenaline. It's exciting, a lot of competition. One thing that people have to be careful of, that sometimes they slip. Don't make promises you cannot keep.
Absolutely.
And that happens so often. And you're like, you have to be careful, because people will try to get you to say very specific things. And you may not be in a position, you may not know enough yet. Even though you may have a working knowledge of things, when you get on the inside is when you really get to know what's going on.
Like, wow, this is what I signed up for.
Yeah, exactly. And so you might say, okay, well, I probably need to dig into it, but it seems like this might be the direction I would take. But I would need to do some research when I get there, as opposed to saying absolutely, unequivocally, X or Y or Z. Sometimes you have to do a little more diligence, and so that's the skill you have to learn to be able to have enough confidence when you need to know how to say that, and when you can feel confident in just being affirmative on what you want to represent.
Well, that's good, and pay your bills when you're done.
Oh,
so
yeah,
definitely make sure that
I mean, but that's where and fundraising is really important with that, and it's hard because there are a lot of things you're obligated to do, and so in being in that space, there are a lot of responsibilities, there are a lot of people you have to meet, and you've got to just be able to juggle it all, and it's a lot to juggle. But once you get on the other side of it, running for and serving in office is something that is deeply rewarding, and you have the potential to go and hold an office, or you have the potential to really serve the people. And
that's very powerful. You can have an office.
Yeah, you can hold an office, or hold an office and just hold it, or you can use that office to serve the people. And not losing sight of that is so essential, so very essential for our community, because we don't need people just to hold office. We need people who are in there working and achieving results for our community, and that community needs to hold them accountable. So I tell people all the time, we talk about transit. I don't get calls about transit in my office. I wish I got calls about transit in my office. I wish a lot of people got calls about transit. Maybe we'd see a more cohesive transit system.
Absolutely.
if the public is engaged. And trust and believe, when the public wants to get engaged about something, there is response from the government level. It may not necessarily be the response you want, but there certainly is. You get their attention, and the wheels start turning, and it may take a little longer, but you get their attention. It's the squeaky wheel effect.
Definitely. Well, I mean, that's huge. I think Councilmember Edwards, you touched on a lot of things that are very, very crucial when one is interested. The interest, don't hold office, serve the people, and you've definitely served the people. So I know you have you serve on the committees, and I know that the technology is very important to you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with that?
Yes, so I serve on the Mayor's Task Force for Technology and Innovation, and in doing that work, I get a chance to really look at how we can build an ecosystem that supports an innovation economy. So what I mean by that is really look at how do we go about building that arm of our economy in terms of startups and that community of small entrepreneurs who are trying to get into the tech space. So we're looking at robotics, we're looking at cybersecurity, we're looking at a variety of different spaces. Exactly. Okay. And how do we create the density needed so that they can bump into investors and do the things that they need to do and collaborate. The other piece of this has been we don't have the type of venture capital investment in the city that we need presently. And so how do we attract venture capital investment into our city? And so that's been an important aspect or element to making sure that we're actually making some headway. I will tell you, in Chicago, they put some real effort into building their innovation economy. They went from $390 million of venture capital investment in 5 or 6 years. They were at $1.7 billion.
Wow.
So that can be a huge game changer for the economy. And these are the things that, as policymakers, we have to not just look at the issues that fall before us in our hands. We've got to be forward-thinking, forward-looking about opportunities we might miss out on if we're not careful. And this was one where I said during the budgeting process, the only thing we were talking about were cuts, austerity measures. Where's the conversation about growth opportunity? And so I inserted this as a budget amendment to have this created, because we need to talk about some growth opportunities. So thinking about ways long term we can grow the economy, kind of in the short term and midterm, and then also looking at how we build something that's inclusive. So we don't want this just to be a small sect of people who benefit from this. It's a job creator, and it should be inclusive, and we celebrate our diversity. Houston is the most diverse city in the country. Yep. So we should be able to make headway when it comes to, in the tech space, the disparities in that investment with regard to minority-owned businesses and companies and things of that nature. So there's a variety of ways that this can really be a game changer for a lot of different people.
Absolutely, and definitely, because that's something that, as we know, technology is the leap of the future, and it is the future, and it is today. I mean, look at so many companies that are, performing and not performing. And I'm in business, so I always tell everyone, you always have to be on your toes. You always have to be innovating, looking for doing ways differently, better. And technology, as you know, is it can be here, but it can also have its downfalls. Facebook had a lot of stuff going on. There's companies that are, they're up and then they're down, and then there's somebody else who can invent a new way where people can engage and socialize and things like that. And so I think the tech sector is very important, and especially if you have all these different opportunities and people who have ideas but don't necessarily have the income or the resources that they need to grow that. I think that's very important. And as there's always a need for technology in any sector that you can think of, and it's one of those necessary things that we have. And so I think it's important, and thank you for definitely bringing that up. It affects the economy, the growth of jobs, everything. And so thank you for bringing that up. And I noticed that you also have other things coming up, and you're very big on empowering the community. And I know I have your website up right now. It's for the Amanda Edwards Community Empowerment, the Be the Solution series. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about what that's all about, and how can people get engaged?
Yes, so we have something I'm extremely excited about. We have our 2018 launch of our Empowering Us 2 event that's coming up. I'm really excited. We have a community empowerment series right now. So that means we seek to empower, equip, encourage, and make sure we educate our community on how they can be the solution on various issues. So that's something we launched last year. We had a variety of events. We had a film screening. We had an immigration town hall. We had a senior citizens conference. So we had a lot going on. Great success with that. This year, we wanted to also be very relevant in the topics that we address. So we talked about how do we utilize our community empowerment series to address some of the other issues that are coming up. And so our first event will be the Empowering Us 2, Igniting Change in the Next Generation of Young Men and Women to Stop Sexual Assault, Harassment, and Misconduct. And that's a play. Empowering Us 2 is hashtag Us 2. It's a play.
There's a hashtag, so look it up. Us Too.
Hashtag Us Too, yeah. And it's a play on the Me Too movement. And so that's been really important for us, because while we've had those voices silenced for so long in terms of people who have been abused, people who have been harassed, people who have been assaulted, and where misconduct has taken place. And so now you've seen all of these people all over the country really begin to shed light on this issue. But then the next question becomes, now that we've released those voices, allowed them to be heard. Now what? How do we go about affecting change, making a culture shift happen so that this Me Too movement, where people's voices have to be heard from all of these atrocities, no longer becomes necessary? We need to live in a community where we respect each other, where they don't have to worry about sexual abuse, or they don't have to worry about harassment in the workplace or in school. This is what we need to create as a community. And so with this event, we're going to be talking to young adults, students, and just basically inspiring them in an inclusive way. So what do I mean by that? So we're going to invite young men and young women, because a lot of the time, a lot of people kind of speak to the choir. We've got to talk to both forces are going to be necessary if we're going to do anything to really fix this thing. And so you've got to have men and you got to have women at the table, and empowering each other to have voices in this movement. And so our movement is going to be very inclusive on purpose, and we're hoping that with this we start a new wave, this new generation. We're seeing it with regard to gun violence. We're seeing the kids lead the way. We're seeing the students lead the way. This is the same thing. We want the young people to lead on this and really commit to each other, that they're going to empower each other to really be part of the solution. So at the end of the event, we'll sign a pledge. We'll have everybody sign a pledge about empowering each other to be part of the solution to this, so we can have a cultural change that's necessary to stop the conditions that led to the Me Too movement in the first place. It's going to be on Saturday, April 28th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at HCC's West Loop campus, which is over by Episcopal High School, kind of by Bel Air.
I think the address is 5601
That's right.
West Loop South, Houston, Texas 77081.
That's right. And so we've got such great speakers. We're excited about our speakers. We've got collaboration with 97.9 The Box, Matt, and so we've got J Mac, and Young Jazz. We've got Chauncey Glover from ABC 13. We've got Sonia Corrales from the Houston Area Women's Center. We've got Dr. Dina and Dr. Elizabeth Gregory from the University of Houston. So we have U of H represented, and they're of course with the Gender and Women's and Sexuality Studies Department. And so they're going to be kind of wrapping it up for us and really kind of helping us kind of synthesize some of the things that we've learned. But the goal is to unpack these complicated issues, because what do I mean when I say sexual assault? What do I mean when I say misconduct? Unpacking those things, understanding what consent is, all those kinds of topics, and then we'll be diving deeply into them in different contexts. So we'll be talking about power paradigms in the workplace. We'll be talking about media dynamics. So we've got folks talking about the media. We'll be talking about how locker room chat works, and what should somebody say when you're having a moment like the whole President Trump situation, and with Bully Bush, and what would have been the right response there, and answering those types of questions so that people feel empowered in various scenarios. So it's not just this has happened to me. What happens when you're a passive bystander in these situations? What should you really be doing? And we'll be answering those questions as well.
That's incredible. And so men and women are
Men
encouraged
and women,
to come.
come one, come all.
Yes, come on. What are the ages? So like if middle school kids can come, or what?
We're trying to target high school level, college level, and young adults. So we've invited a lot of young professionals groups. We've invited a lot of college groups, and we're inviting all of the University of Houston, of course.
Absolutely.
So Cougs are invited, and then we're also inviting some high school level kids. I mean, certainly it's going to be a mature subject matter, so we don't want to get too young with the spectrum. And more importantly, while I talked about all these featured guests, the most important part about this is that it's not about the featured guests. They're here to unpack some of these issues for us and start a conversation and get us thinking, but it's really about the dialogue that will be created in that moment. And it's really about that moment where they're empowering each other and inspiring each other and learning from each other. And so it's really not going to be a lot of preaching and
you need to do this
and you need to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. We want to hear from the students. I've been on every call where we've talked to every panelist and our featured speaker, and we said, look, I'm sorry, we love you, but this is not about you. This is about these young people who will need to be starting this movement. And so we hope that the movement begins with this event, at least here in Houston, in terms of really seeing young people embrace making this change happen.
Absolutely. I think it's very, very important, especially because, as you can see, the youth is they're rising up.
They're
getting
rising
involved. And I think it's very important because, whenever you have something going on in the community, sometimes it can be intimidating for them to go to their elected officials. But if you're inviting them to come out and to talk to you and to come out, I think it's very empowering and it's very important in the community. You don't normally see these types of things where they encourage dialogue. They encourage, if you have something to say it, It's very important. And so, again, for everybody at the University of Houston who is listening to us right now, the event is called Empowering Us to Igniting Change in the Next Generation of Young Men and Women to Stop Sexual Assault, Harassment, and Misconduct. And the event will be Saturday, April 28th, 2018, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Houston Community College West Loop Campus, 5601 West Loop South Freeway, Houston, Texas 77081, and it's free admission. So come by, get involved. If there's any issues in your community, especially because you have an elected official here, Council Member Amanda Edwards, who is encouraging us to get out, to talk about these things, to stop putting them under the rug, because unfortunately, there's all these things going on in our community. We see them. I think previous generations saw it, but chose to, to stay quiet about it. So it's
and the other thing is, so many times people weren't liberated to open their mouths. They were afraid they were going to lose their job, not be able to feed their kids. There's so many layers to this in terms of its history. But then the question is, okay, now that we've liberated these voices, what are we going to do with this opportunity? And so this is a huge missed opportunity. If we get all this attention on this issue and we just stop there with just telling the story. We've got to tell the story, and that is such a huge monumental aspect of why we are where we are today. And that's why it was on the cover of Time magazine, right? But we've got to now, beyond tell the story, rewrite a new story. And that is what we are charging this next generation to do. Just like they are saying to the adults, you didn't figure it out with regard to gun control and keeping my community or my school safe, so we're going to push for the reforms that we want. Similar to that approach, we're asking our young people, let's commit to something different. Let's commit to a culture where people don't have certain worries. They don't have to be scared about interacting with people in the workplace. They don't have to be scared about all of the things that we have so many worries or concerns about. Let's create a different culture that empowers them and keeps them safe.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's going to be key. And having the men in the room is very, very important. I know I have a lot of men, colleagues, friends who are very, very supportive, and they're always encouraging. But, unfortunately, previous generations, they knew about it, but they weren't there to say, hey, cut it out. If a guy was saying something inappropriate, they would encourage it and laugh and continue the conversation. But if you have men in the room and they realize how they're affecting lives by their actions and their the way they behave and the commentary that they give, and sometimes it's very, very inappropriate, and it's going to take everybody together to stop it, and it's going to take men and women together to say, what, this doesn't have to happen, because there could be women that are also doing some of these things too, unfortunately. And so you have teachers who are doing inappropriate things, and whatever level, and women teachers. And it used to be years ago you would only hear men, and now it's like female teachers as well. And so it's very important for us together to recognize where the behaviors are today, to stop them, so that the next generation, they don't have to deal with a lot of these things. And it's disheartening because you have safety concerns on campus, but then you also have behavioral concerns on campus. And so now kids, it's very, very difficult for anyone to get their education now, because now not only do you have to look out for certain things, but someone in your class can say something inappropriate, your professor could say something inappropriate, or anyone. And so it's multiple levels that are being addressed, and I think it's a very, very important event. And I encourage everyone at the University of Houston and anyone on our Facebook Live that is interested, definitely come out. Again, The event is called Empowering Us to Igniting Change in the Next Generation of Young Men and Women to Stop Sexual Assault, Harassment, and Misconduct. Saturday, April 28, 2008, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Houston Community College, West Loop Campus, 5601 West Loop, South Freeway, Houston, Texas, 77081. Free admission, no excuse. If you're tired of everything that's going on, if you are just looking to get yourself involved, if you don't know how to get yourself involved in the community. I have young professionals who ask me, well, how did you do it to get involved? I was like, I just come out to the meetings, listen to what's going on, and when they ask me something and they ask me my opinion, I give it to them.
That's right.
So this is I think it's a good opportunity to get a lot of the young professionals involved. For all of you who don't know, how can I say what's on my mind? How can I voice my opinions? How can I, engage with my elected officials? This event is definitely something that can start that, and I believe, hopefully, they keep the conversation going, and they invite young professionals to get involved, because we are not the future. We are today.
That's
today,
right. Say that again.
We are not the future. We are today. What is going on today?
I love it.
Yeah. So
that's true. It's true.
It's definitely true. And I see it with you. You're so young, and I don't know how many terms you have left. If you have one more term left.
So right now, we have changed. The term limits have changed. It used to be 3 2-year terms. Now it's 2 4-year terms, and so we don't have another election until 2019. So it's given us a longer time to actually serve and actually work.
And actually do the work instead of just focusing on, we got to get reelected. We got to. Now you're doing the work in the community that needs to be done.
Amen.
That's awesome. So 2019, and then you'll run for your second term, and then what are your goals after that? I know.
Now, Victoria, I told you that I didn't like politics, but that didn't mean I wasn't going to be politically coy with you. One of the things I've always said about public service is that as long as I can make that difference and I can truly have a real impact on people, I would definitely consider the next steps. And so that's kind of my criteria in terms of a role. I would never be in another position. I would never be in a position or ever want to sit or fill a position where I didn't feel like that was an opportunity for me to really impact and affect change. And so that's kind of my criteria, is what kind of change can I impact in that particular role. And so I keep the opportunities open, and also recognize that you're only limited by your own imagination and your own fears. And so I'm not fearful of those opportunities, but it would have to be one I examine, on a case-by-case basis as to what kind of change can I impact here, because that's what keeps you really working hard, is your ability to affect change and touch people. And I'm really having a great time doing that. So it's been very rewarding, and doing it for the city of Houston. I care so much about the city.
I love
the city. So.
I love the city. Everybody knows that. I'm there, like, as soon as you hear anything up, I'm Houston all over. I mean, I don't have any tattoos. If I ever had one, I don't really believe in them, but if I ever once think about it in a blue moon, it would probably be Houston. But other than that, I love this city too, and I think it shows, when you care and when you want to get involved. But there's a lack of women in politics.
Yeah, we gotta, and we've got to be empowered. I mean, it's Women's History Month. We've got to support each other. We've got to support women out and who are not political. We've got to be able to support people who need our support. And so with this event, this is going to be geared toward men and women, but really supporting some of our women. Some of this stuff, that takes place isn't necessarily going to be a situation where it's a sexual assault incident. What happens if you're simply made to be uncomfortable in your environment? Do you have the right to speak out? Do you have the right to draw a boundary here? Absolutely. But how do you do that in a way that you're not compromising anything that you value? And so it's some of those kinds of concerns with this event that's coming up. I forgot to mention that there is an Eventbrite page, so it's empoweringus2.eventbrite.com. That's where you register. Register. We do not want you standing in the room without a place to sit. We don't want you sitting on the floor because the fire marshal will come and get us. So register so we can make sure we can accommodate everyone that wants to come. And again, it's free. You register online. And if you have additional questions, if Victoria and I somehow didn't cover one piece of information that you really want, you can call 281-520-2450 and ask your questions there in terms of anything from a logistic standpoint about the event. You can certainly see some of the advertisements if you want to make a copy or share a copy online. It's on my Twitter, Amanda4Houston, that's the number 4, or you can follow me on Facebook at Councilmember Amanda Edwards. So those, if you can't find me, I'm Amanda4Houston on Instagram as well, number 4 as well. You should be able to find me.
So follow her. There's no excuse. If you, for whatever reason, you can't make it to City Hall, if for whatever reason you can't make it to the event, definitely keep up with Councilmember Amanda Edwards, because if it's not one thing, it's another thing that she's working on, and I know she's really good at posting, so it's not going to be one of those pages that are stagnant and you don't get any information or anything. She's definitely active out in the community, so find her on Instagram, find her on Facebook, find her on Twitter. I don't know if she's thinking about having a Snapchat.
Okay, so Victoria, I'm going to ask you live. I'm going to put you on the spot because I have not gotten Snapchat. Do you think I need Snapchat?
I think Snapchat, it's a little more entertaining, but you can use it beneficially.
As a public servant, you think it's okay?
I think so, because I mean,
I'm getting my advice from Victoria, y'all.
Behind the scenes, I mean, you get behind the scenes raw. I think the thing about Snapchat is it's raw. Yeah. It's unfiltered.
So I gotta put the filters, a little headband, and
you can put a little headband. You can put they have banners. So whenever you're at City Hall, they have a banner. Okay. And I think it'll be cool if you use your Snapchat. Like, this is my word of advice. If you use your Snapchat for the behind the scenes, so when you're walking up to City Hall, before you get to an event or things like that, it's like more of a behind the scenes tool. Because I think Snapchat is different from Facebook and Instagram, because Instagram and Facebook is all about the filter and everything's gotta be like, perfect picture,
antique finish.
Yes.
You're like, that's not how you take that picture. Did you really take that picture in black and white? It's like, no.
So Facebook is more, perfect and make it look right, and Snapchat is more of like live, straight what you're doing. They do have some filters, but I think it's more of a raw video than anything. Okay. If you use it for that,
you made a very compelling case.
There you go. So, and especially because some people like to switch their social media sites, and so there's a lot of switching going on right now. I know, especially with the things going on at Facebook, there's a hashtag to delete it or whatever, and so it's just, you can reach a broader audience. I think it's a more younger audience as well, and so if you can engage with them, because that's what it takes. It takes for people to connect through whatever they feel comfortable with. And so if we have to be on Snapchat and Councilmember Amanda Edwards has to have the crown of flowers on there, oh my God, that would be so epic. The crown of flowers with the hearts hanging up on the top. If it takes that to connect and to bring people to understand that it's important and to engage with them at their level, then we're going to see her next week. She's going to come out with Amanda 4.
I'm thinking of my new Snapchat handle as we speak.
Well, I think that's awesome. I mean, there's just really so many things that you could do with social media. You can use it for good, you can use it for evil, but I think that especially with all the events and things that you're working on, you're using it for the right thing.
And we have a page also. We put content on just so that people might not be familiar with the Me Too movement. We put articles up and we try to post almost daily on just different things that are affecting the community in terms of this movement. So by the time you get to the event, you're going to be kind of current on what's really going on. So some of the articles, some of the different industries, what their stances are, what stances they're taking, and we kind of have an opportunity for you to register, but you can also talk to us if you have questions. We are very interactive in that way, just because you have to meet people where they are. So if they're on social media, then talk to them on social media.
Oh, and you have a video on here as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had some really cool voiceover work done. Can you play it? I don't know if it'll.
I don't know. I think I can. Let me see.
I am a survivor of sexual abuse. I want to know how to use my voice to help others.
Everything isn't sexual harassment. People are extreme.
Have you ever been uncomfortable at work or at school? I have.
As a guy, I don't feel a part of this conversation. What can I do?
Hi, I'm Councilmember Amanda Edwards. If you share these concerns or want to be a part of a meaningful discussion about issues raised with the Me Too movement, please join me on Saturday, April 28th for our kickoff for our 2018 Community Empowerment Series, Empowering Us To, Igniting the Change in the Next Generation of Young Men and Women to Stop Sexual Assault, Harassment, and Misconduct. We welcome young men and women to participate as we unpack the complex issues of sexual assault, harassment, and misconduct, and feature live interviews with local experts and participate in a dialogue about how we can empower the next generation to be the change in these trying times. The event will be held at Houston Community College, West Loop campus from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Come, be inspired to be the solution for your generation.
Awesome. You see? No, and that takes a lot of time and effort to put into that. And so I think that's very, very important that you create these kinds of things. Again, you got to find a way to get people involved and to get them to understand that this is an important conversation to have. I mean, so the website is under the HoustonTX.gov and then /council/for/empowerment-signature-series. So I'm pretty sure if you go to the I think it's under your page, Amanda Edwards.
And we have it also on my Facebook and social media as well.
So there you go. So don't act like it's complicated. You'll find it. If you want to get involved, you'll find a way to get involved. And so thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me, Victoria.
Absolutely.
This has been great.
I mean, unless you have any other final words, final thoughts, words of encouragement, anything that you want to tell students at the University of Houston and everyone on Millennial Talk Live, I mean...
So I will just say, I'll close with a little bit of a theme what we talked about, and just say this: you're only limited by your own imagination. So dream as big as you can and work as hard as you possibly can, because also part of your journey there will be some falls, and so you've got to be able and willing to pick yourself back up from those falls when you have them and really push forward and stay focused on your goals. And I think that we are all going to have bad moments in time, but the question is, what do we make out of the entire journey that we're on? And so you just have to be on that journey. And Victoria, your journey is so powerful and inspiring, and you're such a role model for a lot of people that you don't even know. So I just want to encourage all the students to stay looking forward, push hard, and dream big, because the world really could be your oyster if you did that. So again, I'm so excited to be here, and thanks for this opportunity to share this platform.
Thank you so much. And she was gracious enough. She came in and she brought me my own Empower Be the Solution shirt.
Yes.
So I will be wearing this today. And I'm going to wash it and I'm going to wear it for the event. But thank you so much for really making an effort to come out and get involved.
It looks good on you.
Thank you. Doesn't it? Doesn't it? It does. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I mean, and I watched the council session, so just because you don't see me out there, I do see it online.
Awesome.
And I encourage everyone to, public session is?
Tuesdays at 1:30, and so you sign up with the city secretary's office so you can get on the speakers list. And then, of course, we have regular council session on Wednesdays at 9. But if you want to speak and want to have your voice heard, you can always come every Tuesday to City Hall and have your voice heard from 1:30 until the end of the afternoon, really, and come and voice your concerns. Yes,
they get very, very intense. I mean, sometimes there's topics, there's things, but one thing that I will say, if you do come out and speak, I say speak your voice, say your concern, but also do it respectfully.
Yes.
I think that's one of the things that I'm very, very big on telling people. We have a right to speak at public session. We have a right to voice our opinions, but we also have a right to share respect with one another.
That's
and so whenever there's, heated sessions, I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, why? You don't have to, it doesn't have to get to that level. And so I encourage everyone to come out, get involved, go to the public session, speak up for your community, your neighborhood, anything that you have. And I can guarantee you there are more then willing to help you. If and when you come out in a respectable manner, we're all human beings and we all deserve the same amount of respect. So you can come out. Yes, I get it. Sometimes you're aggravated because there's an issue that hasn't, been fixed in your community. There's an issue that perhaps, has gone under the radar and nobody knows about it. But the city of Houston, I will say, is really, really big. It's a big little town and it's huge, so there's so much things that can literally go unnoticed, and it's not necessarily that your elected officials don't want to do anything about it. It's just they really might not know what is going on, and if they know, it's also a process because they can't do anything overnight, like automatically. So I definitely encourage you to come out to City Hall and speak and voice your opinion at public session. But I do ask for people to do it in a respectable manner because they're there for you and they're listening. So thank you again for coming out.
And thanks for having me out. I love it. And thank you to all the listeners. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you on April 28th.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
And with that, we're going to transition out. Thank you so much for coming in, but we are going to move on with our show, and I know we have thank you so much for coming. We have a couple of things that we want to talk about, especially because it's Women's History Month, and there is an event going on also this weekend with Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston, and so let me look that up right now. They have buses that are going and taking tours of the city of Houston. And they are definitely, focusing on women and women's history. And it's all for free. So if you have the opportunity to come out and register, I would do it. I mean, why not? There's so many things that you can do on the weekend. If you're on a budget, if you're a student at the University of Houston and don't know what to do and how to get out there, enjoy yourself. So again, if you want to get on this bus tour, I am actually going to log into Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston. So March is Women's History Month, and this weekend is your last chance to enjoy the free tours that Mr. McKinney Houston Women History Tours from Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston and the Pan American Roundtable of Houston, with over 100 women on the Houston Women's History Tour. And you and your friends don't want to miss this. And yes, you can share this video, post, let others know about the free tours. The last free tours are opening Friday, March 30th at 2:30 p.m. Saturday, March 31st from 4 to 3:30. And to secure your tickets, you have to email houstonhistorybus.gmail.com, and you have to leave your first and your last name, your cell phone number, the number of guests, 2 guests per person, including their name and their email address, your first choice and second choice date, time that you're requesting, and be sure you and your guests both like Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston and the Houston History Bus on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. If your guest doesn't have a social media account, then they can make a $15 donation for adults and a $10 donation for a child. So the website is houstonhistorybus.org. You can have another friend who likes the page and tour it for free as well. So please remember to reserve houstonhistorybus@gmail.com, and note that you can always get groups of 15 to 20 people together and ask Mr. McKinney for a private tour for a donation to the Houston History Bus, which makes Houston History Tours for free. So it's a program that you can do for school children. It's a program that is really highlighting Houston. I'm a big Houston fanatic, and so I'm always pushing and motivating people to get involved with the city of Houston. There's so many great things. So again, KPRC's been on KPRC Local 2, so he's been on Houston Live. Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston has the Facebook page. Definitely click like and you will be updated with their information and events and things that they have coming up. And the big one right now is the Women's History Bus. So it's a good opportunity for us to get involved in the city of Houston and to know what is going on with the women in the history of this city. I think it's important, especially, like I said, March is Women's History Month, but women are out there every day, day in and day out, doing things for our community, and it's so important. And I'm so happy that Mr. McKinney is doing these Women History Bus. And again, if you want to get more information, definitely log into his Facebook page, Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston. I know over the Christmas day, he did the Christmas City Lights tour, and I know my family and I were able to get on the tour, and it was very, very fun. It was a great way to get in there, and his bus, for those of you that don't know, is actually like a school bus, and what he does is he has the middle section of the bus, of the roof, removed, and so you can actually look outside and you can see within your own eyesight beautiful sections of the city of Houston, and he highlights so many areas that are rich in history and are important to the city of Houston. And I think that that's just a very, very important thing to get involved in, because, you know, yes, other cities, Chicago, New York, have their things going on, but we have a lot of things going on in the city of Houston as well. And so it takes for us to get involved and to get the information. And again, the tours are on the Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston page. All you have to do is click like, and you will get the information. And again, which are very, very important. And if you want to get involved, more information, the tours are Friday, March 30th at 2:30 p.m., Saturday, March 31st at 4:30 p.m. So definitely secure your seats for this weekend, the last weekend, and which is the last weekend of March for Women's History Month. And definitely bring out your friends, your family, people who would like to get involved in this. It's very, very important and crucial that we know the contributions that women have, because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a woman. And I am very, very happy that this is going on in the city of Houston. And so for more information, again, you can go on to the Houston History Bus website, and they have their Facebook page as well. And with that, I'm going to switch over to another event that, again, we were featuring earlier, which is the Be the Solution. How important this is. You know, there's so many things that happen and so many issues in our community that nobody really wants to talk about because they're uncomfortable. And this is a very great way to expose this information, and she has all these things going on. So again, thank you to Councilmember Amanda Edwards for coming out today and bringing in her show, her event, the Community Empowerment Be the Solution Signature Series. It's definitely something that is needed in the city of Houston, and I'm always big on pushing for us to get involved and to get out there, especially because we have the opportunity to bring change. We see the things going on in our country, things that we might not like, things that we might not agree on, or perhaps we've been a victim of something and we don't know how we can expose these problems. Definitely joining the conversation, being a part of something that is going to change not only our near future, but the future of others, I think is very important, because not only can we do something about it, but we can prevent, you know, situations that have been going on, things that have been affecting people's lives for so long. And if we can get involved and we can get our foot in the door and listen and give feedback, she said it's going to be a conversation event. Come out, you know, don't be scared of getting involved. Don't be scared of coming out. This is our city. I know I've lived in the city of Houston my whole life. I wouldn't change it for anything. I don't want to move anywhere. I don't believe that there's any other place that I could be besides Houston. And yes, we have our problems. Yes, we have issues with traffic. Yes, it's not perfect, but I can guarantee you that if we get involved, if we empower one another the way this event is going to do it, we can change the future of the city of Houston. As a student from the University of Houston, I definitely noticed that there's some changes that can happen and things that need to happen, but I'm out there getting involved, finding out the information that needs to be addressed, and, you know, I'm engaging with my elected officials. These people, again, as I always say, they work for us, to empower us, to make our city better. But it is up to us to engage with them, to get involved with them. Again, to get in the city hall public session and speak your opinion is so strong. And not only to go to complain, but to also, you know, invite your elected officials to certain things that you have going on. If you're a student at the University of Houston and you have an event and you believe it's something that can engage your elected officials, go out to city council session excuse me, and invite them. You know, I've been out there several times to city council public session, and what I do is not only am I there when I have a problem, but I'm also there when I want to invite them, when I want to open the dialogue, when there isn't a problem. And so it's all about building a relationship. And as you know, we live in the information era, and people that you know, what you don't know, can help you. So definitely get involved, get out there, and like, you know, vote. Plain and simple. That has a lot to do with it. If you don't like whoever is in office right now, you're like, well, I've been out there, they don't listen to me, they don't take me into consideration. Well, definitely voting has a lot to do with that. If you're a student at the University of Houston and you see problems and you see things, but you don't like the people who are elected in office right now, you know, I'm sorry, but if you can't even cast a vote for someone in favor or against of them, or for some, a lot to say, you know, it's very easy for us to complain and to think about problems that are going on, but voting is something that is very important, and it's also something that can change the future. So not only are we, if we talk about the problems, if we expose things that are going on in our community, but if we don't like the way that our elected officials are, you know, making decisions for us day in and day out, well, guess what? The next election cycle is coming up. You can vote these people out of office if you feel like they're not serving you to the best ability. So definitely get encouraged. If you haven't registered to vote, register to vote. It's something so important, so crucial, and we think that, you know, sometimes we're numb to it. I know I was numb to it for a long time. I wasn't always involved. I wasn't always informed of the things that were going on in my community. And unfortunately, it takes, you know, us to take a leap and get in there and start building a relationship with our elected officials and knowing who's effective and who's not effective. And so if that's something that I can leave with for this show, especially for the month of March, we had so many great women. I want to thank Ana Hernandez for coming out. I want to thank Laura Murillo for coming out. And I want to thank Leticia Ablasa for coming out. And again, Councilmember Amanda Edwards for coming out, because this is something that, if we continue the dialogue as students, as citizens, is so strong, so empowering. If you have the power to vote, please vote. You might have a neighbor, a friend, a family member who's undocumented that can't vote. Your decisions and the way you vote impacts them directly. So I look forward to hearing you guys' responses. Again, we have our Facebook page where you guys can always go back and look at the video in case you're tuning in now towards the tail end of it. We have a Facebook page that you can follow us. Sometimes we're doing live sessions that are outside of Cooks Radio, and you can follow on the information. Our Facebook page is Millennial Talk Live, and you can see shows that have passed. You can see previous guests that were featured on. And so you can stay connected with us also on Instagram, MTalk Live. You can find us there, and also on our Snapchat, which is MTalk Live as well. My name is Victoria Lara. It's been a pleasure to be here with you guys at the University of Houston. And our show again is Millennial Talk Live. We hope to see you next week. We're going to bring more guests that are going to motivate and inspire you and get you to come out and get involved in our community. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week.